It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
There's some things I just want expert advice on, and taxes is one of them. Sure, doing your own taxes can be convenient, but let's be honest, don't you wonder if you're doing everything correctly? With TaxAct, you're guided every step of the way with their software, and you get free live help with Tax Expert Assist. That's unlimited questions you can ask a CPA or other tax expert. They make it that easy to file for less and get more. Start for free at taxact.com today. See website for details. Restrictions apply.
Just how good are the Ontario Reign, and should we already be getting our sights set for the playoffs? We're going to look at the Kings AHL team on today's episode of Locked On Los Angeles Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Everyone, happy whatever day of the week this is. You're listening to Locked On Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. My name is Sarah Avampato, host of this show covering the Kings since like 2016 or something, and excited to finally again get to cover not only a Kings team that's playing fun, meaningful hockey, but also an AHL team, the Ontario Reign, that is playing fun, meaningful hockey. We're going to talk about that on today's show, which is of course available wherever you get your podcasts, and of course to you, our listeners, thank you for listening, and thank you for making this your first kind of listen of the day, every day, wherever you get your podcasts. So we're going to turn our attentions today and probably tomorrow to the Ontario Reign, because looking at what's going on in the AHL is pretty darn crucial, if you ask me. So let's get to it. So the Kings are exciting, which is fun and new and different. They just put out an ad, a little video thingy on Twitter the other day that was like, the push to the playoffs. And I was like, this is the first time we've been able to say this legitimately with sincerity in years. And that's very exciting. But what is also exciting is that the AHL team, the Ontario Reign, are also doing very well. They're very fun, very exciting. They have their own push to the playoffs going on, although they don't have to do much pushing because they're basically almost already locked in. And so I wanted to spend a little bit of time while the Kings are ramping back up into playing after their all-star / whatever break to take a look at the Reign. And so as we've kind of teased in earlier episodes of the show, I'm not the only one around here who follows the Reign. You may or may not know, Jay Forster from Locked On Blue Jackets also covers the Reign because, you know, secret Kings fan, secret Reign fan. Really wish I could.
Hey, don't blow up my spot like that.
Yeah. Well, you know, Columbus isn't listening to this. It's okay.
No,
like,
it's fine.
Yeah. So I figured instead of hearing me talk about the Reign, we would have someone else come on the show to talk about the Reign. So Jay is going to be here with us today to talk all about our favorite, not so horrible children anymore.
No, our subpar children are firmly above par this season. It's very nice.
So what is, for listeners who haven't really paid much attention to the Reign or really just sort of check in every so often, what's the season been like for them? Where are they at right now? Just how good is this team?
This team is legitimately good. You know how sometimes a team is playing above their level and you're like, this is going to come crashing down with a shock in, 10 to 15 games. The Reign is not like that. I've kind of been waiting for the other shoe to drop basically all season because, so you understand, as someone who has covered a very mediocre LA Kings team for many years, as someone who has followed a very mediocre Blue Jackets team for several years, I keep waiting for them to disappoint me. And so far the Reign have not disappointed me. They have, I believe, 2 of the top five or 6 scorers in the AHL in TJ Tynan, love of my life, and Martin Ferk, who I'm still not sure how he does not have a permanent NHL role on the Kings, but they are both doing fantastically. They've got pretty solid goaltending. They've got maybe the best rookie defenseman in the league, which is always fun. Big Jordan Spence fan over here, but honestly, the Reign do not always play good hockey. The Reign typically play pretty fun hockey. I was writing a recap for this weekend's games earlier, and I was like, well, the goaltending's been pretty good. The defense has been pretty good, but the thing about the Ontario Reign this season is that they apparently have just decided to outscore all of their problems, and it's kind of working for them. They're leading the league in goals for. The power play is red hot, so just kind of keep keeping on. Keep doing what you're doing. Maybe allow a few less goals, but honestly, I think I want to say 14th in the league for goals against, which is in the top half of the league, which is pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I feel like usually when you see a team that is doing the whole let's outscore our problems routine, that eventually it kind of starts to fall apart. But so far it hasn't. So far they have had very few losses where you're like, oh wow, you got totally blown out of the water on that one.
Yeah, exactly. So I was looking at this again for the further recap, and kind of I do a little look at like a specific stat. So one week I looked at the special teams, and then last week I looked at TJ Tynan's willingness to score basically every time he gets on the ice. And so this week I kind of looked at the goaltending, and so Matt Villalta is 15, 3, 3, and 1. So for NHL people, the AHL uses records a little bit differently. So they have wins, losses, overtime losses, and shootout losses, I believe. And so he has 15 wins on the season, 3 losses, 3 overtime losses, and a shootout loss, which came last night as the time of recording this, to the Stockton Heat, who are currently leading the division, barely. They're only just leading the division, but Villalta specifically has allowed more than 3 goals in 5 of his 22 games so far this season. And in those games, the Reign are 1, 1, and 3. So even when they are allowing a lot of goals, I think it was they've allowed 4 goals 3 times and then 5 goals twice. Even in those games where they're allowing 4 or 5 goals, they're still scoring at least that many goals, because they're either winning or they're going to overtime. Only once in those 5 games have they actually lost in regulation. So, like I said, it seems to be working for them.
More with Jay coming up after that, but I got a couple of things that you should probably know about. And first up, it's BetOnline. Football might be over for the season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the #1 spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And of course, it isn't just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, right on down to Olympic coverage and information. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, it's where the game starts.
David Harrison here of the Locked On Podcast Network with a question for all Locked On listeners. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
Thanks again for making Locked On Kings your first listen of the day every day. When you're done here, make sure you check out Olympic Hockey Daily, presented by Locked On NHL. It's a bonus podcast covering all of the action in Beijing. You can find it on the latest Locked On NHL podcast feed. It is, of course, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Now, let's learn some more about the Reign with Jay. This is, it's such a stupid hockey cliche, but it's like, they're a team that figured out different ways to win. And, I feel like last season with the Reign, they had a really terrible start to the season. They kind of started to heat up towards the end of the year, but it was a little bit too late by then. But it's like they're winning in all sorts of situations. They're winning close games. They're blowing teams out of the water. They're winning in overtime. It's been really fun to watch them because unlike, past versions of the Reign or past versions of the Kings, when they get behind, I usually am not sitting there being like, well, let's see what else is on, because it feels like they always have a chance to come back, which is not a familiar feeling, I think, for Kings and Reign fan.
Yeah, I was thinking of that last night, actually, watching or kind of paying attention to the Stockton Reign game that was last night. And it was 2-0, like 10 minutes into the first. And usually, as my time watching the Blue Jackets, usually if that happens, I'm like, oh, this is just going to suck for the rest of the game. And then I went away to do something else, and I came back, and suddenly it was 4-4 at the end of the second period. And I was like, well, I guess. So, yeah, even when they go down a goal or two, they seem to find a way to bring it back. It helps that they've scored the most goals in the league by they have 161 goals this season in 39 games. The next closest to them is Utica, who have 151, and Rochester, who also have 151 goals. So, it's, like I say, like, just outscore your problems. Clearly, it's doable. I don't know if it'll work in the playoffs, but for the most part, it seems to be working.
I want to talk about specific players in a little bit, but before we do that, I want to talk about one of the real keys to success for the Reign this season so far, which has been the power play. Penalty killed, not much to write home about there, whatever. But the power play has been absolutely unstoppable. What are you seeing from them that's making them so successful, other than just everyone like wanting to get out of the way of Martin Ferk's shot?
Yeah, I mean, it helps when you've got a guy that could shoot the puck at 106 miles an hour. But yeah, and I think it's kind of like we joke, but it is kind of that. And, the top power play unit at the minute, I believe, is Ferk, Tynan, Anderson Dolan, Jordan Spence, and Gabe Velarde. That's a pretty good unit, like the top line of Anderson Dolan, Ferk, and TJ Tynan just ruins lives. Like, they have been running rampant over the Pacific Division, and they're doing it on the power play as well. So, like, I think, yeah, probably a little bit systems based, but for the most part, I think it's literally just that those three guys are, like I say, just running rampant. The power play is at almost 30% right now. I did not realize it was that high. They scored 5 goals last night. So Saturday night, as of the time of recording this, and 3 of those 5 goals were on the power play. Like, it's just clicking along at a truly bananas rate.
Right, like, it feels totally normal. What can the Kings? I mean, you watch the Kings. Their power play is not great usually. What can the Kings take away from what the Reign are doing? Like, should they be looking to them for ideas on how to make their power play better, other than just lifting up that entire unit and plunking it into the NHL?
Yeah, I was going to say my first option for the Kings to do better on the power play would be to call up Martin Ferk, but they seem to have done that and then just send him back down. So I don't know what their problem is there, but yeah, it's tough. I haven't looked at the power play kind of side by side, because I know, again, as covering the Blue Jackets, their AHL affiliate, the Monsters, those two organizations are very kind of close in how they run things. So a lot of the systems that the Blue Jackets use will be put in place in Cleveland as well. It's something that the Pittsburgh Penguins organization has used to great success over the past kind of decade or so, that right all the way down through to the ECHL team, all of their teams use the same systems to help, call ups and whatnot. And so I would have to take a look at the, maybe the Kings power play side by side with the Reign power play. But something I noticed this the other day, actually, it was like a couple of weeks ago, time has no meaning. The Kings power play is so weird because it doesn't look like they have anyone in a shooting position. Like, it looks like everyone is on their offhand when they receive the puck. And so and this might be confirmation bias. This might just be because of that one game where everyone was in a bad position. But I like watching the Blue Jackets. Obviously, we have Patrick Laine just kind of hanging out on that Ovechkin dot.
Mm-hmm.
The Kings don't really have that option, and I'm not sure why. It's a very, I don't know, it's a very strange setup for a power play, especially, you've got guys that can be a legitimate threat.
Mm-hmm.
Anze Kopitar is still very dangerous. Adrian Kempe, noted all-star.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Doughty still is a very good puck-moving defenseman, especially on power play. You've got Sean Dursey in there. Just get Dustin Brown to stand in front of the net and cause chaos. It's not like they don't have the people on the power play. They never seem to be in the right place at the right time. And so maybe that's something that we'll get better as the season goes on, but also we're over halfway through the season right now. So it might be time to just say that maybe the Kings power play is not going to be a roaring success this season.
Yeah, it just is what it is, and they're kind of succeeding.
Sometimes power play is bad.
Yeah. Yes. Sometimes it just happens, and that's okay. We still like you, even if it's bad, but also be better.
Hey, hockey fans, Erica Lindsay Ayala from Locked On Kraken here. Do you know why free trials renew without your consent? It's a business scam out to get you. Don't let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download Truebill to take control of your subscriptions. Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with Truebill. Because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, Truebill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in just one tap. And your Truebill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions, so you don't have to. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at Truebill.com/locked on NHL. That's right. You can go right now to Truebill.com/locked on NHL, and it could save you thousands a year. That's Truebill.com/locked on NHL.
This episode is brought to you by the Disney Bundle. This month, there is something for everyone with the Disney Bundle. On Disney Plus, watch unforgettable stories like The Book of Boba Fett and The Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild. On Hulu, watch originals like How I Met Your Father and Pam and Tommy. And on ESPN Plus, score big with Our Time, Baylor Basketball, and NHL. Get more of what you love with the Disney Bundle for only $13.99 per month. Includes Hulu ad-supported plan. Access content from each service separately. Terms apply. See thedisneybundle.com for details.
So I wanted to look at some of our prospects that are down there who are making a big impact. And one of the guys you named already, which is Jordan Spence. I was out in Grand Rapids the other weekend to see the Reign on their little road trip, and was my first time to get kind of an extended look at Jordan Spence. I'd been out in Ontario once before and caught one game, but really getting to watch him 2 nights in a row, especially in 2 kind of totally different games. The first night was a blowout in favor of the Reign. The second night, the Reign just didn't have it and just couldn't get past Grand Rapids. But watching him has been a real treat. I'm already really excited to see, his eventual NHL debut. But what is making him so successful, especially as such a young player? It's, we always see young defensemen come in and struggle with the adjustment to playing professionally, and he seems to have just jumped right on in there.
Yeah, I am so impressed with Jordan Spence, and I've noticed him at times throughout the season and thought, rookie defenseman, he's getting a lot of ice time, he's making some really smart plays. I hadn't really kind of thought to look into it until he had a 4-point weekend last weekend. He had a really, really solid weekend against Grand Rapids. And so I was like, okay, I'll look into this, see how he kind of stacks up against other rookie defensemen, other defensemen on the team. And Jordan Spence, as far as rookies go, first of all, he's leading all Ontario Reign defensemen in points by a significant margin. He's leading all rookie defensemen league-wide. He's got 30 points in 36 games. Only 2 of those are goals. So I think, again, he is someone that has massively benefited from playing at the same time as that top line of Furchtinen and Anderson Dolan, who have about a bajillion goals between the three of them. And so, a good offensively minded defenseman. You've seen it with Drew Doughty throughout his career. I've seen it with, Zach Werenski, Seth Jones on the Blue Jackets. A good offensive defenseman is not typically going to be scoring a bunch of goals. That are going to be getting a bunch of primary assists, a bunch of power play assists, and that's what he's been doing. Last time I checked, let me unclick the rookie box. He is currently third in all AHL defensemen in scoring. The only defenseman ahead of him is Jordan Gross for the Colorado Eagles and Riley Walsh for the Utica Comets. So he's doing everything right. He's, a plus minus is a garbage stat, but it's kind of the best we have for the AHL. Plus minus is a 14. Both of his goals have come on the power play. So again, there's that power play. He's doing it. He's doing it all. He's doing a great job. He is, it doesn't tell me how many, doesn't tell me penalty kill time, because it doesn't give me time on ice, because the AHL is stupid. But yeah, just he's a phenomenal young talent that kind of came out of nowhere. I'm kind of new-ish to covering Kings prospects in this much detail, and so when I started seeing his name pop up, I was like, oh, okay, this seems like a really, a promising young defenseman. So I started paying more attention to him, watching him more in games. It's difficult to do, watching on TV, because you can't, you kind of see where the camera goes, but something that I would be really interested to know is how he kind of plays away from the puck, which is something that's kind of difficult to see on TV. But from what I've seen, he's great. It would not surprise me to see him in a Kings jersey before the end of the season.
Yeah, I think he should at least get kind of the cup of coffee, couple of games call up. I have certainly really liked watching him. I mean, he sort of reminds me in ways of Sean Durzi. They're kind of a similar profile of defenseman, I think. But, watching him just, especially on special teams, on the power play, patrolling the blue line, and just has made really fantastic plays to keep pucks in the zone, which is, you can't score if you don't have the puck where it's supposed to go. And he has just been really good at being able to read those plays and, make the right move to get the puck to his teammate. And he just seems like he's everywhere. I think a couple, not this year, because he was too old for it now, but last World Juniors, I think he was the only non-first round pick to be on that Team Canada squad, which I think says a lot about him and how good of a player he is, how underrated he is. In kind of a lot of people's eyes, to have gotten that nod. Sure, he didn't play a whole ton, but just to get that experience to be there was really cool. And he's a little smaller, sure, but I think you wouldn't know that watching him. He's just such a fun skater. I'm really excited about him, and I think that he's a player I think who will be special for the Kings once he gets up there. That's it for today's show. Thanks to Jay for stopping by to talk about the rain. We've got more coming up tomorrow, and a little sneak preview, probably going to hear from Jay a little more often, checking in on the rain. Going to do some more regular rain coverage coming up in the future, so you can get all the information you need to know about the Kings AHL team and what's going on down there. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you tune in for more Kings news here on Locked On Los Angeles Kings, wherever you get your podcasts. In the meantime, you can find me on Twitter at @RightSaidSarah. You can find the show on Twitter at LockedOnLAKings. Give it a follow. Make sure you never miss an episode, and tell your friends all about it as we get ready to have exciting fun with the Kings and the rain down the stretch of this season. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, this has been Locked On Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, so here's a word you don't often associate with tax season, easy. But at TaxAct, they use that word all the time because TaxAct makes it easy to get started, easy to file your taxes, and easy to switch. Another word they use a lot, guarantee. TaxAct guarantees your max refund, and with their $100,000 accuracy guarantee, you can rest assured that their calculations are 100% correct. Don't overpay for your tax filing software. This year, file for less and get more with TaxAct. Start for free at TaxAct.com today. See website for details. Restrictions apply.